We've arrived at a point in the culture where physicality, presence, fitness is vastly important, but it's not even fitness for the sake of performance, which I love. It's fitness for the sense of presentation. It's muscle mass, body fat, bodybuilding. Sometimes I think, I have no business talking about a subject like this because I'm an ordinary person. I'm not jacked, I'm an ordinary person. But that's really when I just compare myself to the online influencer space. The truth is, 3.5 years ago, I looked like this. Like I looked really out of shape. I would wear like only button-down shirts that was like size large. It was really frustrating because I always felt like my stomach was sticking out in my shirts. It's an uncomfortable feeling to have your like belly sticking out while you're trying to type, or if you just eat a little bit of food, you feel like you have to unzip your pants. And since that time, I finally began this classic fitness journey. 3 years into my journey, fitness has been a very, very profound point of focus in my life. And I would say for my age bracket, I've probably achieved a top 1%, top 5% physique just because I've devoted myself for 3.5 years to fitness. And in this video, I want to talk about how my life has changed once I put such an emphasis on being muscular, being fast, endurance, and how the world has responded to me, how the world has changed, how my life has changed as I've gone on this journey. So the first thing I learned is that conviction is the most important thing in life when it comes to getting results, both in business, definitely in romance. And the more attractive your offer is, which is you when it comes to like romance and intimacy, and it's your product, whatever you're selling when it comes to sales, the more attractive your offer is, the better you'll do. But also, what's more important than just the offer itself is your conviction about the offer. So a lot of guys, they get into fitness because they think that if they drop their body fat a little bit or if they put on some muscle, men, we tend to set these arbitrary numbers for ourselves. So like once I'm 200 pounds, like 200 and jacked, then like at 200 pounds, it just hits different. Like women will be really attracted to me. When in fact, what you're chasing in all this is conviction. And what do I mean by conviction? That internal knowing that you are dangerous, that internal knowing that your pain tolerance is incredibly high. Like, there's some things you just can't fake. One thing that I sort of resent or dislike about the pickup artist community, which I've never done or interacted with directly, but I used to be friends, when I was first popping off on YouTube, I sort of became friends with that sort of like RSD Tyler crew of people, RSD Max, the Real Social Dynamics. I have no hate against them. I think they're really interesting people actually. But a lot of the pickup community, a lot of what is classically said in the space of just like, trying to attract women and whatnot, it comes from a place of like, you just gotta be confident, right? You just gotta be confident. If you're confident, if you just tell yourself you're the shit, then you'll get great results with women. That's actually absolutely true. But what they don't tell you is that you might as well do the work that you don't even need to like learn confidence. Like there's some things in life that if you definitively go through, you don't need to like tell yourself you're confident. People will just tell you that you're confident and you're like, I am? Like, oh, I'm confident? Like when you put yourself through certain experiences and like you definitively transform as a result of what you have put yourself through, people will tell you you're confident or people will tell you you have conviction, and you realize like you went on this hero's journey, When you returned, you were not the same. And that's what true fitness and the pursuit of getting jacked does to you, because no one tells you this when you're starting out, and I'm glad no one told me this when I first began. Like, there's like my first boxing lesson happened in August of 2021. No one tells you that it takes years. It takes a really long time to have any sort of muscle definition, and even though fat loss is far easier than putting on muscle, no one tells you that like to perfect things and to like really figure yourself out, even fat loss takes some time. Even fat loss takes some effort. Theoretically, going from 16% to 12% body fat shouldn't take that long, but it ends up doing so because you make mistakes along the way. So I would say like a definitive length of time where you should commit yourself to this with like complete authority and complete like devotion is 3 years. And it becomes very consuming, but 3 years of devotion to fitness, and that absolutely puts you in the top 1% of like male physiques. definitely for your age. Like for me, being over 30, I'm pretty confident that I look better than 99% of men when it comes to body composition, just because I suppose of my standing in life and the fact that YouTube allows me to invest so much into fitness as well. But that's definitively true. And what that gives you is this enormous conviction. And that's really what you want. But that conviction, it cannot be faked. You can't just like affirm your way into conviction. You have to do terribly difficult, terribly painful things. And if you've done like a really brutal leg day over and over again, when I first began working with my coach Austin, I remember like I would show up to like leg day, like genuinely super terrified. Genuinely, you know, if you put yourself through this, you know what I'm talking about. You almost white out in pain, or you feel like you're gonna throw up. It's so hard. And then you do that again and again and again. Or for me, as I got really interested in endurance training and running, the first run that I did that was like truly mind-bogglingly hard was a like 20-mile run at 7 minutes 50-second mile pace, and then a handful of marathons that I'd done prior. Just to know that, holy shit, I'm able to put myself through this. Now, someone else might be able to run faster, but I know how long I sat in that pain of like running at a threshold pace, or like a really like, you know, a heart rate 180 beats per minute pace. For me, complete agony. I don't think one would feel that kind of pain unless they're dying. And to have put myself through that over and over and over again for the last 3 years, you don't even realize that your conviction is really high. Suddenly, when you go in for that job interview, even if you don't know that particular programming language, or you don't know exactly the product they're selling, so you don't know your sales process, you know, definitively that well, just knowing that you've put yourself through such immense suffering with your physicality, you really don't give a fuck. You're like, look, whatever it is, I definitely know I can do it better than this other guy. Like, if I can run 20 miles and put myself through this kind of agony, what the fuck is this by comparison? I can definitely do this. It gives you that arrogance, it gives you that conviction, and that conviction is everything. The second idea I want to share with you here is that pain tolerance and fearlessness comes from the things you do. That's a big part of what getting jacked is. It's a display of your pain tolerance for the world to see. It is a display almost of fearlessness for the world to see. It's so persuasive. This has only been in the last 2 or 3 years, perhaps. You know, Hamza really changed the landscape, I feel, for how important fitness became in like the men's personal development niche. And I was like, why is fitness hijacking the space so much? You know, like personal development videos back in the day, they'd be like, I don't know, how to overcome procrastination. And then at a certain point, like a person's physicality became very tied to how the men's space is perceived. And I realized it's because putting on muscle is incredibly difficult, especially after the age of like 29. It's really hard to put on muscle. You have to overextend. And basically, if you have that muscle put on you, it is a demonstration of pain tolerance and to a degree fearlessness. And you see this because the people who go to the gym and they're extremely serious about getting a result, you're not going there anymore for stress management. You're not going there for a healthy lifestyle per se. You're going there for a result. To get that result, your intentionality and your focus, it needs to be like dramatically high. Like you have to be fucking insane, honestly, to a degree. You have to live with that pain. And so the whole way I train now is so different than maybe back in college, where I would just lift the weight that felt good. I would get a quick pump and I would leave. Now it's like progressive overload. You know, you add 2.5 pounds to the bar. You know, for me, right now I'm working on overhead press the most. Sometimes you add the 1/4 pound plates on each side, because adding 5 pounds every week to your overhead press it's not possible after a while. So that intensity, that conviction, you're the guy who doesn't stare at your phone in between sets. You're in there, you're sort of counting down the clock in your mind. Okay, this has been a 1 minute rest period. You go back in. It reads different. For me, I end up grunting. I end up, you know, sometimes it sounds like kind of like a sexual moan, honestly. Like, I don't know, that you can't help the sounds you produce. But I sort of wonder, like, how are these other people not making noise? How are they feeling okay in the gym? You know, because every time I go and I really get after it, I'm almost like dizzy. And you carry that sentiment with you everywhere. That fearlessness, it comes through in the eyes everywhere you go. And that's so powerful. Number 3, this is gonna sound a little bit mean or mean-spirited. It's not endeavoring to be, but you're just better than other people. Okay, you're not better than people in terms of like the human soul and the sense of brotherhood or, empathy between two people. You're not better than them in that sense, but you're better in terms of like reliability, dependability, like survival. You're better than people. Like, I'll be honest, I just don't trust fat people as much as I do fit people. I don't trust them to get the shit done that I need them to. And everyone has different circumstances. Some people, you're a single father of two and you need to do Uber Eats and like you're driving around in your car all day. And maybe because there's a lot of stress at work, I've been in that situation too, where if you're working 12 or 14 hours a day and there's no breaks and it's a high stress environment, you end up eating the chocolate or, you just end up giving yourself this quick comfort food because you need something to get through the day. And as a result, you put on some body fat. Or maybe, lifestyle isn't conducive for such things. So I understand that people have different circumstances. But if all things being equal, and someone, especially if they have the capacity, it's like a younger man or a man in his 30s and they don't have children or they don't have like insanely high stress. It's self-imposed weakness, I suppose. Like back when I worked my last tech job, there was someone on my team who was pretty solidly overweight. And I can tell you that dude was actually always on lunch break. Like, what can I say? He was always on break. There was always a reason for him to like put off the meeting. His technical knowledge was better than mine with certain aspects of the software I was working on. So I would need to go to him for questions. And it'd be like, how do we talk about this? Like, why are you never available? Like, why can I not get a hold of you? Actually, it showed up in a handful of ways. One, if you're going on tech support, the people in India, like if there was tech support in Hyderabad or Bangladesh, you knew those people were gonna fucking crush it. Like, that's the truth of working in tech. Is like, I always hoped I got like an Indian or Bangladeshi for my support tickets because they would actually, like, they had that desperation to get the job done. They weren't just, to get a job it meant something to them. Whereas if you got some random stupid American, you knew they'd always fucking procrastinate on the tickets and they just like not get shit done. That intensity isn't there. I sort of feel that way about overweight people versus fit people. That intensity isn't there. That need to get the fucking shit done, it's not there as much. And like I said before, this is not to disparage the worth of another person's soul or to take away from people's potential. I think everyone has potential, everyone deserves empathy, and you're not a piece of shit if you're a fat person. I'm not saying anything like that. To me, you come across as less reliable, and that reliability, it carries through so much. It happens in your own life as well. You become more reliable to yourself when you're fit. Actually, my capacity to think better and to follow through on tasks and get things done, it has gone up substantially since fitness has been a part of my life. So I think it carries some real weight. One of the people I admired the most in my life has been Arnold Schwarzenegger in terms of his story. And back in the day, there was all this kind of like this mental imagery around bodybuilders. They're just meatheads. They're big, dumb meatheads. Arnold Schwarzenegger, because of his, his funny accent, he's kind of a meathead. He's kind of a dumb guy. When in fact, the man was a tactical moving genius, real estate mogul, astute businessman, sharp as fuck. And I bet so much of that is tied to his physicality, the intelligence that's carried in his body. So that's the third idea. It's kind of a mean-spirited idea. You're just better than people in the sense that you're more reliable and more dependable. Which brings me to the last idea, attraction. Women attraction and attraction from people at large. Does being jacked, does being fit, does it carry a lot of sway with the ladies? My answer to that is probably. It's hard to know what forces create the most amount of attraction, because a lot of what you perceive day to day, it's just like correlation. And you might think it's a cause, just because I put on, I don't know, a pound of muscle or lost 1% body fat. Is that why she suddenly likes me and didn't before? We try to logic our way through certain scenarios, but I think what fitness does more than anything, it ensures that your physicality is not a demerit against you. I think that's what it does more than genuinely build attraction. Now, have I noticed that I've become more attractive since getting fit? I have, but I strongly suspect it's come more from my internal sense of conviction. That idea I talked about in the first principle, where you just kind of know that you're dangerous. That internal knowing that you can't even help. I think that carries more sway. But there's certainly been times I was with my girlfriend in the gym, and it's the first time we ever worked out together. And I was doing arms that day, and she just told me, like, she found herself looking at me and looking at my physicality and finding it, like, attractive and finding it impressive. So perhaps it's true on a larger scale. I think, honestly, inside the gym, women are very good if they do find someone attractive or something like that. They're very good at like playing it off or being really casual about it. So I think you can never know for sure, honestly. But I think more than anything, it ensures that your physicality is not a demerit against you. And it is an enormous confidence builder because the body, it's like, since so few people take their fitness to such a high level, you know that that's one way that you're just standing out. You know that that's like one part of you that's a very strong attribute. It almost makes me want to say that like your fitness is tied to a sense of like nobility and perhaps even morality, just because your capacity is so much more. And I think that's what ultimately makes you attractive. So yes, perhaps you do become more attractive, but I think once again, it's because the fitter you get, the more you put yourself through in fitness, the higher your inner conviction ends up becoming. And this can translate on so many different fronts. But that conviction is really what I've been after, and I'm so glad I took myself on this journey. If you're new here, my name is Nikhil. This channel features approximately one video essay every week or every other week. So if that's something that intrigues you, that you find interesting, I would love it if you could subscribe. Additionally, if you're trying to grow your own YouTube channel, I have a mentorship program in which I work with a group of people, cohort sizes of 3 or 4 people, and work very intimately on their channels, on their philosophy around producing solid thumbnails and making videos that make sense for the algorithm, but also make sense for your life. Because I've always believed that to be a good YouTuber, you actually need to live a great life. And through that great life lived, you'll find a story worth telling. So if working with me sounds at all interesting to you, or if you've seen my channel for any period of time and you're keen, you resonate on how I make videos, I'd love to at least chat with you and connect with you on what working together might look like. You'll find a link below in the description box. We can hop on a call and figure out what your goals are with YouTube and otherwise. But with that being said, I want to thank you all for watching this video, and absolutely chase fitness as a means to increase your conviction. And with that, we'll catch you in the next one. Greatness is coming.